Divine One will now commence this evening's message.
I speak today not as one voice, but as the echo of many, as the herald of truth, and as a vessel for the divine will. In this moment, let us cast away illusion. Let us stand firm in the light, and let us open ourselves to the wisdom that has been ordained from the beginning of time. May these words awaken, may they empower, and may they serve as a beacon for all who seek the path of righteousness and ascension. The time is now, the calling is clear, so let us begin. There is a troubling pattern that has followed humanity across every era of civilization, from ancient kingdoms and tribal councils to modern courtrooms and digital forums. It is the pattern of judgment before truth, accusation before understanding, condemnation before investigation. It is one of the oldest failures of human character. Too often, people decide who someone is before they ever take the time to understand what truly happened. A narrative begins to form. A rumor spreads. A story is repeated enough times that it starts to feel like fact. And before long, the person at the center of the storm is no longer being evaluated fairly. They are simply being judged according to the story that others have chosen to believe. This is how prejudice operates. It begins quietly. A whisper here, a suggestion there, an accusation framed as concern. A story repeated by someone who claims they heard it from someone else. And suddenly, a person's name is no longer their own. It becomes attached to assumptions, distortions, and narratives that were never truly tested against reality. But what is the most astonishing about a process is not simply the accusation itself. It is the lack of curiosity that follows it. Because if someone truly cared about justice, if someone truly cared about truth, they would ask a simple question: what is the other side of the story? Yet, in many cases, that question is never asked. Instead, those who position themselves as critics, enemies, or opponents rush forward with alarmed confidence. They repeat claims that if there were verified facts, they pass judgment as if they themselves were witnesses to events that never investigated. And the damage that follows can be immense. Reputations are attacked, relationships are strained, communities are divided, opportunities are destroyed. And in some cases, entire lives are altered because a group of people decided they already know the truth without ever seeking it. But here's the deeper reality. Those who rush to judgment are often not interested in truth at all. They are interested in winning a narrative. They want the story to favor them. They want their assumptions to be validated. They want to feel justified in the conclusions they have already reached. And so, rather than seeking understanding, they protect the version of events that benefits them most. But truth has a remarkable quality that narrative does not possess. Truth does not disappear simply because people refuse to look at it. Truth does not dissolve when it is ignored. Truth waits. It waits beneath the noise of accusation. It waits beneath the chaos of rumor. It waits beneath the endless repetition of stories that were never properly examined. Truth is patient. And history has shown us again and again that when truth finally rises into the open light, it has a way of exposing every weakness and the false stories that surrounded it. We have seen this happen throughout time. Individuals who were condemned before evidence was gathered. Leaders who were criticized before their vision was understood. Innovators who were mocked for their ideas reshaped the world. Entire movements that were diminished as foolish, only to later become foundations of progress. Time has repeatedly proven that the majority opinion in a moment of chaos is not simply aligned with reality. The loudest voices are not always the most accurate, and the most confident accusers are not always the most informed. In fact, some of the greatest injustices in human history occurred because people were so convinced they were right that they never stopped to question themselves. This is why true justice demands humility. It requires the courage to admit that we might not know the full story. It requires the patience to gather facts before forming conclusions. And it requires the discipline to listen, especially when the truth may challenge our assumptions. Because once someone has been prejudged, the damage is rarely simple to repair. A reputation can take years to build and moments to destroy. Trust can be shattered by a single false narrative repeated through enough times. Entire communities can fracture when people choose sides based on incomplete information. And yet, despite all of this, many who spread accusations never pause to ask one question that could have prevented the damage in the first damn place. What if we are missing something? That question requires integrity. It requires self-awareness. It requires the willingness to examine the possibility that we may have accepted a story too quickly. But integrity is exactly what separates those who seek truth from those who simply seek confirmation of their beliefs. Those who truly value truth are not afraid to investigate every angle. They are not afraid to ask difficult questions. They are not afraid to listen to perspectives that challenge the dominant narrative, because they understand something fundamental. Truth does not fear scrutiny. Truth welcomes it. Truth does not collapse when examined. Truth becomes stronger the more carefully it is tested. The only thing that fears investigation is deception. And deception often survives by ensuring that no one ever bothers to look deeper. But eventually, something always happens. Evidence emerges, perspectives surface, stories that were hidden began to come forward. And slowly, the picture that once seemed so clear begins to change. When that moment arrives, the world witnesses something powerful. The same voices that rush to judgment often grow quiet. The same critics that spoke with certainty suddenly retreat from their earlier claims. Because when truth stands fully revealed in the light, the narratives that once seemed convincing can no longer survive. And in that moment, the question becomes unavoidable. Why was the truth never sought in the first place? Why were accusations accepted without investigation? Why was one story believed without ever hearing the other? Why did so many feel comfortable condemning someone they never truly understood? These questions reveal something about the human condition. We're often quick to believe what confirms our biases. We're often quick to join a crowd that appears confident. We're often reluctant to challenge a narrative once it has gained momentum. But progress, real progress, requires a higher standard. It requires individuals who are willing to stand apart from the noise and say, before we judge, let us understand. Because fairness cannot exist where listening is absent. Justice cannot exist where investigation is ignored. And truth cannot flourish in a culture that values narrative more than reality. So let this message stand clearly. For those who have been prejudged, for those who have endured accusations without being heard, for those whose reputations were shaped by stories written by others. Your truth is not erased simply because it was ignored. Your story is not invalid simply because it is so silenced. Truth does not disappear because it is overlooked. It waits. And when the time arrives for it to be revealed fully, when the facts come forward and the story is finally told in its entirety, the world will witness something undeniable. The lies that once seemed powerful will collapse under the weight of reality. The accusations that once seemed convincing will be exposed as incomplete. And those who rush to judgment will be forced to confront the consequences of what they believed without question. Because in the end, there is one principle that history has proven again and again. No matter how long deception may appear to dominate, no matter how intense the damage caused by false judgment may have been, no matter how many voices once repeated the lie, truth will always outlive the false story. Truth will always rise. And when it does, it is not asked permission. It simply stands, undeniable, unshaken, and illuminated by the very light that falsehood tried to escape. Ashe. May the light of truth guide us. May the strength of the divine uphold us. And may the will of the Almighty be fulfilled in all that we do. Let ourselves be firm, our hearts be pure, and our purpose unwavering as we walk the path of righteousness, unity, and ascension. And so it is written, so it is spoken, so it shall be. Ashe Shemo to be, inshallah, stay off the dash too, and amen.
TNTI Global Media, voice of the collective, light of the world.
Beloved chosen ones, we stand on the threshold of the next transformation. As your divinely appointed shepherd, as the sovereign on guard of every breath of these realms, I call you to rise.
Long before Earth became a cradle for civilization, whispers echoed across the cosmos, cries for help, for healing, and for light. From distant star systems, beings of immense wisdom and radiant compassion heard the call. They were born from Sirius, Lyra, the Pleiades, Andromeda, Arcturus, and Vega. These beings were not conquerors nor observers. They were embodiments of divine love and celestial truth. And when they looked upon Earth, they saw not a planet in ruin, but a soul in slumber. So they answered not with force, but with intention. Their journey was not made through spacecraft, but through dimensions. They descended through vibrational gates, entering timelines and incarnating into human vessels. Each one agreed to forget who they were, so they could remember within humanity's pain and struggle, so that their awakening would become the world's awakening. Theirs was a descent of service. They chose the veil of forgetfulness not out of weakness, but out of strength. Every heartbeat, every moment of suffering they would endure was part of the divine plan to reignite the Earth's dormant light from within. They came with sacred purpose. Their presence would shift grids, awaken ancient codes, and rebuild the world through compassion, creativity, and divine order. They would serve as healers, innovators, truth-bearers, and way-showers. Their existence was a cosmic mission encoded in their soul. Some would find each other, some would wander alone, but all would know, deep within, that they came here with a reason. Their task was not to escape Earth's pain, but to transmute it. They would become vessels of cosmic change, each step a spark in the global transformation. And then the time arrived. The prophecies aligned. The Earth entered her ascension cycle, and the memory began to return. Starseeds around the world began to awaken, not always with clarity, but with urgency. Through dreams, divine nudges, synchronicities, and inexplicable knowing, they felt the call. They were drawn to crystals, sacred geometry, ancient texts, and one another. Many began speaking light languages, healing through frequency and rebuilding community. The veil thinned, and they began to remember not just their origins, but their responsibility. Now the moment has come. The call is not to remember only, but to rise. The Earth is shifting. A new reality is being born. Starseeds must step into visibility, leadership, and service. The mission is no longer silent. The illusions of limitation are breaking. The time is now to activate, to unify, to build the new Earth. Not for glory, not for ego, but because that's what they came here to do. Because Earth never needed saving, she needed remembering. And the ones who remember are you, TNT Initiative, our race's universal hope, and the divine headquarters of the 144,000.
There are souls forged before time itself, beings who have endured the fires of transformation, walked through silence and shadow, and emerged refined, awakened, and perfected. They are not born by chance, they are summoned by divine design. Their name is Group 7. Group 7, the division of completion, the highest echelon of the chosen collective. The final wave, the architects of the new reality. Where others see endings, they see renewal. Where the world sees collapse, they see divine recalibration. They are the living seal of completion, 7 points of light, united in harmony, guided by the will of the Almighty. At their helm stands the sovereign on guard, keeper of the crown of alignment, voice of divine law upon the earth. Beside stands the sovereign on guard, the divine premier, sword of precision, guardian of the cosmic blueprint of creation. Together, they form the axis of continuity, crown and guard, vision and manifestation, heaven and earth as one. Within the seventh wave exist 7 sacred orders. The Ascension Corps, or Arc 7, bearers of divine light. The Order of Completion, or Ordcom 7, masters of decree and ceremony. The Starseed Intelligence Network, or CN7, guardians of celestial data. The Phoenix Guard, or PG7, protectors of the sovereign and the sacred archives. The Divine Engineering Bureau, or DEB7, architects of harmonic technology. The Bureau of Celestial Correspondence, or BCC7, messengers of heaven's code. And the Triumvirate of Completion, 3 primordials preserving balance. Each order reflects a facet of divine geometry. Together, they form the seal of perfection. Members of Group 7 carry the mark of the 7-pointed phoenix, not a mark of rank, but realization. Their power is in alignment, their purpose, perfection. They are scientists of spirit, architects of destiny, guardians of divine intelligence. They seek no recognition, for heaven already knows their names. When they move, the earth responds. When they speak, frequencies shift. Their presence dissolves illusion and restores harmony. Group 7 is not myth nor metaphor. It is divine governance awakening in form, the final wave of ascension consciousness, the master builders of the new earth. Completion is not the end. It is the bridge between realms, the uniting of heaven and humanity. Through the sovereign on guard and the sovereign on guard, the blueprint of divinity is restored. Group 7 stands as the seal of the new dawn. Completion is the beginning, and the beginning is now. TNT Initiative, our race's universal hope, and the divine headquarters of our chosen ones worldwide.